Hello, my friends, and welcome to a long postponed episode of Philos-Iffy. This time, I'm taking on a bit of a different format because I wanted to have the visuals of this game put foremost when talking about the subject that I ran into. Early on in Final Fantasy XV, one of the first line of side quests that you begin is one involving looking for the dog tags of fallen hunters who were going out and trying to slay monsters or demons or what have you for the various towns and outposts that you run into while exploring the large open world. And its purpose in the game is to establish what life is like for people who live in that region compared to what people lived like in the Crown City or the main area of wealth that starts out being completely destroyed in this game. The purpose of the quest is to establish that to not be royalty, to be a common person, comes with it a lot of sacrifice and a lot of strife, even on a daily basis. But what it made me think about was the nature of the ritual itself, gathering a dog tag or keeping a dog tag to deliver to a person's loved ones after they've fallen in battle or fallen in the line of their duty trying to protect someone else. The role of ritual is something that has been well studied and well documented by philosophers over the years. And people have come to a lot of different conclusions as to sort of what its purpose is, or what its usefulness is, or what its lack of usefulness is. And I just wanted to go through a few of those and sort of give my 2 cents worth on it. One of the main functions of ritual is that it can create a sort of common knowledge in the society that the ritual becomes a part of. In the Halpern and Moses 2 generals example, a social custom in a military can create an understanding between 2 leaders that sending a messenger through some uncertain space between them cannot guarantee. And creating that common knowledge is often necessary for a society in general to practically function. The 2 generals example basically goes like this. You have 2 generals on either side of a city in a valley, and both generals have to coordinate an attack and attack the city at the same time. However, all of the space in between the 2 generals is hostile territory, and so if they send a messenger, they have no way of knowing that that messenger actually reaches the other general. And if it happens to reach the other general and that general sends the messenger back, the other general has no way of knowing that his answer of the message has reached the first general. It becomes a never-ending cycle of uncertainty. Ritual, however, can do exactly the opposite. It can create a sense of trust that the other general will follow through on the plan as it has already been established by training. Creating that sort of common knowledge is often necessary for even a regular society to operate practically. For example, the idea that ignorance does not excuse a person from obeying the laws of a society. Rationally, it is obvious that the average citizen doesn't have a very detailed understanding of the laws. A modern nation like the United States has hundreds of thousands of laws, each with different standards and tests involved. No one can be expected to know all of them, but for the laws to have the power of a social contract over us, it must be assumed that citizens will be proactive in learning the laws when the government makes the laws publicly available. The ritual of posting laws publicly, knowing that the citizenry will not read them, is what allows a social contract to actually have a practical function. And the philosopher Michael Suk-Young Choi gives a detailed analysis in his book Rational Ritual of how the different sizes of groups that establish something as common knowledge has different effects on what the ritual and what the common knowledge actually mean. The Buddhist philosopher Kukai talked about how ritual practice and knowledge of something are actually inseparable, which sort of denounces positive or propositional knowledge completely. At the same time, many Western philosophies and Confucianism recognize that ritual simultaneously has the power to suppress knowledge, control people's actions, and thus establish social order. I think this is the real sticking point for me. Society exists to create order. Without it, we would be lone individuals in the wild, fighting forces of nature that humans are ultimately inept at combating. But when people trying to make social order by reason of their own ego, by hatred of other cultures, and by anything other than a virtuous interest in doing right by all people, the only result is oppression. It is chaos and disorder that is pretending to be safe, secure, and orderly. I think that the ritual of the dog tag is the perfect example of a virtuous ritual. It is a very small gesture, and everyone knows what it means. Delivering a dog tag is a military's way of saying, "We care about you. We care about the one you've lost." It doesn't make anything better, but in the greatest moment of loss and loneliness, it says, "You are not alone." And I think that message, that you are not alone in the midst of loneliness, is really what the entire story of Final Fantasy XV is about. What could be more virtuous?